All right, we're here with Mr. Howard Jones, the current vocalist of Light the Torch, formerly of Killswitch Engage. Thanks so much for being here with us today. How are you doing?
What's going on, man? I'm doing good.
Nothing too much, man. So, Light the Torch is kind of a different rebranding of Devil You Know. Is that correct?
Not really. It's more of just a different band. I
Just a
mean,
different
we
band.
kind of had to kill Devil, so it's it's kind of done. You know, once you give up the trademark and all that stuff, you can't really call it the same thing.
Yeah. And I know that some of the legal stuff can get really tricky and messy once you're dealing with different ownership and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
lawsuits are expensive and that whole deal. Talking about this new Light the Torch material, um, at some point, I guess a decision was made to take things in more of a melodic direction. And was there a specific conversation about that? Because to me, this sound, Devil You Know, was so much heavier. To me, this sound is so much more suitable to your voice because you can sing and scream so well.
Um. Well, we just, I mean, once Devil was done, we were like, okay, let's just kind of do something different.
Yeah.
And this is what happened. Yeah, we didn't know really what to expect with this. We just started writing because we've been sitting on our hands for a while. I mean, with Devil 2014, 2015,
Mm-hmm.
and then here we are, 2018, finally putting something out. So we were just itching to do something, and so since we had to let Devil go, we were like, all right, let's just kind of switch things. And I guess the easiest way to say is like I kind of changed the ratio
Yeah.
of screaming and singing. But yeah,
That's a good way to put it. I would also say that this is kind of going to maybe open you guys up to a wider audience that might not want to listen to, so much screaming and so much heaviness. I think that this music that you guys have released kind of takes me back to sort of the end of Heartache era with your voice. It's just really good to hear you kind of sing with those soaring choruses and stuff like that. How has the reception to this new music been for you guys? Because it seems like I literally got a text message. I was on a cruise recently, and a good friend of mine texted me and was like, "Holy shit, have you heard this?"
you heard it on a cruise.
Yeah, yeah, I was. I was on a metal cruise actually recently.
Hilarious.
Yeah,
Um, uh, it, I've actually been just kind of busy
yeah,
working and all that good stuff. From what I've heard, it's been good. But I'm not a social media dude. I don't
yeah,
have any, so I'm not popping in and checking on stuff. But from what I've been told, it's it's been okay. So I mean, that's all I can ask for. And
yeah,
it's like, oh, fantastic. Well, back to work.
yeah. So, talking about social media, it's funny that you should mention that you don't have any social media because I was pretty big into social media. I had a nice following and stuff on there. And then about 3 weeks ago, around the time I was on the cruise, I opted to just take all of my social media accounts down because I felt like it was really affecting me negatively. What is it? Is it just not something that's ever appealed to you, or is there anything more to why maybe you choose not to be on social media when so many people per se are?
Honestly, there's never been a lot of deep thought about it. I just never signed up for it, and I,
That's awesome.
I really can't go beyond that. It was like,
Yeah.
yeah, you should get this. Nah, that's all right,
So
and that's it.
so kind of my understanding is that you really like to fish and I guess you're kind of an outdoorsman. What other than that do you do in your spare time? It sounds to me like you're kind of just a simple dude who doesn't want to complicate his life with this fake reality on social media.
Um, I mean, I can't pass that much judgment on social media when I'm not really a part of it. Yeah, It seems to be a lot of people's thoughts, some
Yeah.
good, some bad. It has its ups and downs like everything. Um, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean,
It's
I would say that it's probably more negative than positive, though. I think everyone who
yeah,
uses social media would agree.
yeah, and that's kind of a bummer. And yeah, you know, I'm already chemically imbalanced, so like,
Hmm.
you know, being being manic depressive is like I don't. I think that would probably be best to just avoid it. And plus, I'm usually doing a ton of other stuff,
Yeah.
and I love being outdoors. I love hiking. I love fishing. I love you know uh, just exploring new places, and also just been working a lot.
Yeah.
So that's and if I can work and it because my mind just goes a million places. So
Hmm.
if I can do like a couple things that I like to do at once, it's fantastic for me.
Yeah.
I don't sleep a whole lot, so it's like, all right, now I'm like, okay, now I'm doing just like a bunch of writing and collaborating and helping out with other bands and my own projects. Like Peter from Soilwork, he and I, we're doing an album and helping write for some bands and for a label, with some of their bands and just helping with arrangements and stuff
Awesome.
like that. And I've been doing that, helping out with this band Crowbot. Uh, got to write a song and sing on a song with D. Snyder. It's just
That's
I
awesome.
I just like staying busy
And
and
Jamie Josta's working on that as well, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. He pretty much put all that together, and the album's great.
That's
I,
awesome.
I can't wait for people to hear it. 'Cause when
You
they
know,
do, you
it's
will just go, "Wow, this is good."
I can't wait for that. I know that he has some. I'm guessing it's coming soon. Please don't reveal anything you're not supposed to. But I'm guessing because D. Snyder is lining up. He's got festival dates and stuff coming. So I guess it'll be sooner rather than later that we'll hear some of that stuff.
Ding ding.
Yeah.
Hey, all I can say is, man, it's great. That guy
Yeah.
sounds amazing.
I can't wait.
So good.
So you know what's funny is when I brought up kind of getting off of social media, you kind of talked a little bit about mental health and for me, I mean I'll share this on my own personal end. I recently started seeing a therapist like probably 3 weeks ago. I've been dealing with like really bad anxiety, maybe teetering on depression and stuff like that.
Hmm.
You've been kind of as public as you're willing to share with your own battles. Is there anything in particular? It sounds to me like maybe it's staying busy, but is there anything in particular that's kind of helped you when you're feeling down and when you're feeling you're dealing with anxiety or depression?
Wow, that's a loaded question.
Yeah.
Is because I still feel that way.
Hmm.
I still have anxiety that is ridiculous. I
Yeah.
still, I mean, every day is what it is.
Yeah.
Um, it doesn't go away, but you just try to fight through it as best you can. It takes, and that's the thing that about all this. It's not a simple solution, and it's not quick,
Yeah.
and nothing good is. And as cliche as that sounds, that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's like to get to any semblance of quote unquote normalcy or whatever, it's a journey.
Yeah.
So there's no quick fix. But for me, I have to move.
Hmm.
I can't stop. If I do, I'm done.
Yeah.
That's just it's just I figured it out and it's like, okay, don't
Well,
ever stop. And so I
I'm
don't.
I'm so glad to hear that, and um, I also applaud you for your openness when we've seen over the last year or so that we've lost you know so many musicians with either direct issues related to depression or things that might be closely linked and issues like that. And I just gotta say, from what I've gathered on a much smaller level than you, even though you have people that reach out to you and they're kind of a fan of your work and all the achievements that you've had or that I've had or anyone has had, the anxiety, I guess your old problems that don't exist anymore are replaced by new problems or new worries. And that's kind of something that I've been learning with what I've been dealing with on a personal scale.
Yeah, I I get it. Um, and because as the person you evolve,
Yeah.
so the things that you do, the things that happen, it changes things,
Hmm.
and so yeah, you have to figure out who you are in the midst of all that. It, I mean, there's so many layers to all this.
Yeah.
It just is, and for me, I'm a bit of a loner,
Yeah.
so I end
Me
up,
too.
yeah. And thing is, what's weird is like I like being alone, but at the same time, I get bummed out that I'm so alone.
Yeah.
You know, but it's just there you go. There's that whole light and dark. It's kind of how I write. It's like I write positive stuff, but then I write negative stuff because
You're
uh,
describing my life to a T.
it's that's why that's how I write. That's
Yeah.
how I feel. So that's how I write.
It's you know, from my standpoint, I've kind of built up this empire in my home so I don't have to go anywhere. I have all this cool stuff. I don't go out, I don't venture out much. And then some days I'll kind of feel like a friend will text me or something and I just don't even have the maybe the energy to respond. I
Hmm.
I I will say that I recently, because 2018 for me is a year where I'm really focusing on my well-being and not focusing on so much business or the investing that I do.
Yeah.
So I discovered my own personal a health condition that once I get that taken care of might actually mitigate some of the anxiety and depression I'm dealing with. But I've always been a constant worrier. I don't know if you would describe yourself that way, where your whole life maybe you've been hyper cautious. That's how I've always felt.
Uh, I, at times I've felt hyper cautious, but at the same time, um, I think I if there's something that I have is that I'll take a risk
Yeah.
and I'll take a chance with something. I mean, when I moved from Ohio, I took a chance. You know,
Yeah.
when I joined Killswitch, I took a chance. When I took off and
Yeah.
started another band, I took a chance. When I dumped the name, started this one, I took a
Yep.
chance. And that's the thing. Whichever path you take the chance. That's what you have to do. It's just try.
Yeah.
Is that's where that's where a lot of it lies. It's just fearing that you're going to fail, whatever it is that you're going to try. And the thing is, you probably will fail.
Yeah.
Then what?
Some of the time. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, all right, you failed. You're going to have to do something. So may as well get up and try something else.
So
Just, I don't know, man. It's just, there's a solution. It's just to everything, there's a
yeah.
solution. It's just the journey may be a short or long one. And with,
Yeah.
anxiety and depression, as you're seeing, it's not a quick journey.
Yeah, that's true. It is something that you kind of deal with. But again, I can't help but applaud you for being open about it. And look, if there's anybody out there watching this right now and you're dealing with anxiety or depression, I think we would both stand in unison and say, look, be open about it with people around you, much like Howard has on a much bigger level, and take care of yourself and get help for it. There's always help for you, and there's always people that love you out there. That's what I've learned in my own space.
Yeah, absolutely. And that definitely helps. That was part of my problem was just, I figured I could fix whatever this was that was wrong with me. And number one, I didn't know that I was
Yeah.
just chemically off. I didn't know that, it's just this is how I was made.
Hmm.
And so, just I had to let people in.
Yeah.
And when I did that, started changing things, but also just figuring out what works for me, what doesn't, because, you can feel great and then, take a nap, wake up, and just feel like, all right, I'd much rather
Oh,
put my head through a window.
so
So
true.
yeah, so it's an everyday thing. I
Yeah.
fight it every day, but for me, it's just I have to move.
Yeah.
If I that seems to be the one thing that has worked as a consistent for me. It's
I'm
just move, stay busy, move, and and also like I collected a lot. You know, I have my all my stuff. I don't. I kind of gave up everything.
yeah.
You know, I don't. You know, I had like every game system in the world and all this. I can't tell you the last time I've used any of that. It's,
Because you have to move.
yeah, because
Okay.
I'm always doing something. I try to write every day. I'm
Yeah.
constantly working. I'm outdoors every day.
Good man.
Literally this was delayed because I'm like, oh, I'm done, and so I just went out I just went out and was hauling, and so there's like, you got an interview, so I had to run back. But
Oh man.
hey, it's all good. But it's just for me, I have to move,
Yeah.
and uh, um, you know, I just know it's a never ending thing, but
Yeah.
it's it's a shared never ending thing.
Yeah. Have you I don't know if you've seen this, but talking on mental health, there was an interview that Tom Cruise did some years ago on the Today Show, and he almost got into like a screaming match with the person who was interviewing him because Tom Cruise is a Scientologist and he's insistent that there's no such thing as like a chemical imbalance in your brain or that any sort of medication could ever help you um, deal with any anxiety or depression. I was curious if you had heard about Scientology in that way or anything like that.
Here's my take. Tom Cruise is a fantastic actor.
Yeah, that's the whole. There's the whole take, folks. I
Oh yeah, we're done.
I love that. I love that. And, it's it's nice to hear someone being able to kind of separate the art form from the person. That's not very common these days.
He and I will not be broing down.
Yeah,
I don't think my opinion of him and his opinion of me are
consistent.
ever to meet. I don't
Yeah.
think it really matters.
Yeah, I mean that's true. I wish that's one of the reasons. Since you're not on social media, I'll tell you there's a lot of that goes on is projecting your opinion when it doesn't really matter uh, whoever you're talking about. But moving on to let's talk something positive here after having such a good heart to heart discussion there on that. Over the
All right.
weekend, I saw that you guys had shared this post from Jesse Leach. Jesse is an awesome dude. I've had the chance to interview him. I went indoor skydiving with him, or I took them indoor skydiving. And I got to tell you, man, it made my entire day just as a fan of Killswitch and a big fan of yours to see you guys connecting on that level. And I realize it's kind of just a matter, I guess, of being in the same room. How was that for you to have such a great personal interaction for Jesse to be able to share that so publicly?
No, it was good. You know, but I mean, I just wanted to hang out. You know,
Yeah,
like Adam hit me up. I came and hung out,
yeah,
and uh, I didn't know all that had happened.
yeah,
this, this is this is just the truth. This is
yeah,
all I can tell you.
yeah,
I just I just went to spend time with the guys, just
yeah.
because I mean we've always gotten along, but you know just our paths had just gone
Yes,
different ways, and so
yes,
then we got to hang out and really just hang
yeah,
for a while, and then Jesse and we've been playing shows together for I don't know how long, just so long.
yeah.
I mean, I think I played I played one of the first Killswitch shows with Blood's Been Shed. You know, just I've known that guy for ages, but and you know we've chatted a bit here and there, but
Yeah,
yeah, this time we just yeah it was just the two of us. So yeah we just got to bro down and
yeah,
go deep, and Love
So
that little dude. He's great.
So he's such a good guy, and I remember when we went indoor skydiving on the car ride in the way there because I drove them to this facility off site, and I remember that we were singing Boys to Men classics, and he's just so full of, I would say, energy and positivity. It's just infectious
Yeah,
to be around.
it literally is who he is. You you can't fake that.
Yeah.
But yeah, we weren't listening to that. It was more of I think we were kind of listening to a little bit of Juicy J and
That's awesome.
Dram, things like that. But oh yeah,
Juicy.
hey,
Yeah.
we were having a good time.
Now I know that I know Mike is a massive wrestling fan. I am a massive wrestling fan myself. Do I understand correctly that you are really big into wrestling as well?
Absolutely, I've been since I was a tiny one.
That's
Uh,
awesome.
uh, yeah, yeah, it's just something I've always liked. Like I love UFC and all that good
Yeah,
stuff.
me too.
I love Bellator and mixed martial arts is great.
Hmm.
But yeah, there's just a special place in my heart for wrestling, which which is kind of cool. Just getting to do a few wrestling themes and then
Yeah,
actually somehow starting to become really good friends with Chris Jericho.
dude, that's
He,
awesome.
he's just the dude is. I think because that guy has hustle in him that is like only seconded by maybe Jamie.
Yeah,
It's like I think that's why like we kind of all get along just because we just don't stop. But yeah, he's just a good dude
yeah.
and a lot of fun. And just between the well, we've talked about it before. We've got this group text where it's Richard Christie, Chris,
Oh
and
my
I,
God, I
and
don't know Richard Christie, but I'm such a fan of his prank calls from the Stern Show.
some of them are pretty amazing.
Yeah.
But we've had this group text going for about 2 years, and it is just nonsense.
That's
I really,
awesome.
I literally have no way to describe it. But yeah, all of a sudden, like I did a podcast with the guy, and it's like, man, could see hanging out with you sometime. Then all of a
Yeah.
sudden, we're just talking all the time. But he's just one of those guys that like definitely kind of inspires you, whether you think he is or not.
Yeah. So Chris Jericho, I had the chance to interview him as well, and he's another guy that's just full of positivity and full of energy, really full of energy.
Oh my
Um,
gosh. Yeah, dude, that's why. That's also one of the reasons that guy loves me. It was
yeah,
we did a podcast, and he was like, it's like that's one of the reasons it's cool. Is like I can text you at just about any time, wherever I am on the planet, and you will probably answer me. I'm like, yeah, it's pretty weird, isn't it?
yeah.
I don't sleep much, and
You don't sleep.
so yeah,
You
so
know,
it's
I'm
so it's cool to I just stay active, and he
I
does the same.
I got myself into a mess where I read a quote somewhere that some of the most successful businessmen or businesswomen sleep for maybe 4 hours a day or 5 hours a day. So of course I try to emulate that behavior, and I just couldn't keep
Hmm.
up. I don't know how people like you are able to just run on fumes all day and night because I can't do it. I need like 10 hours of sleep a day.
I truly wish I could, but I'm just not built like that.
Yeah,
I've been like that since I was a kid.
yeah.
I would stay up most of the night and read, and
Wow,
just get a little flashlight and be reading under the blanket. I've always been like this, and
wow.
it definitely creeped out the guys in like the church for a while. But they're used to it now.
Yeah. Um. So talking about kind of light the torch with by the way, for those of you watching, first of all, listen to the single Die Alone. Check that video out. I've got a link to it in the description here of this interview. Such a good song, and I can't say this enough. It seems like kind of crowd reception, or not maybe like reception to the music maybe that's not like a big influence for you, but I can tell you, like, I'm not just saying this. Obviously, I'm a big fan of yours, but on first listen to this song, when my friend sent it to me, I knew it was special. And you guys really have a lot to be proud of, and I am certain that the future is bright for you guys with this new with Light the Torch and the album Revival, which comes out on March 30th. Make sure you pre-order that album, and let me tell you why. If you're a real fan of Howard Jones, if you're a real fan of Light the Torch, buy the album, support this band, because first week numbers, for some reason, not the band, but people elsewhere in the music industry are obsessed with, oh, what they do first week. Support this band, grab this album, and I can't wait to hear the full thing. One more. Here's. I have a couple fan questions that have been sent in, and these are interesting questions. I'm not going to ambush you here. Here's a question from Jeremy Hutchinson. He's one of our Patreon supporters. If you want to send questions in, you can always support us on Patreon. Jeremy Hutchinson asks, "Who are some of the nicest rock stars that you've met?" We know Chris Jericho is one.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, a lot of them are. You know. I mean, they're just people.
Mm-hmm.
You know. I'm trying to think of what's good. I just because it was just interesting. Steven Tyler.
Wow.
Super nice dude.
That's cool. How did you meet him?
Happened to shout out to Kelly Cap. Was at her parents, and who worked at Live Nation. Just anyway, I just ended up at a barbecue, and he was there, and we ended up hanging out and sitting in a car for about an hour listening to music like 36 Crazy Fists and stuff. It was really weird.
Was Steven Tyler?
What happened? I don't know.
Dude, that is awesome. The next question would be, Brandy Stokes wants to know, what is your favorite song to perform live? I know that's a difficult question to answer.
Oh, wow. I don't think I have an answer to that. That's
like what your favorite day was. It depends on how the show's going.
Yeah, I don't know. For the most part, I'm pretty much going to have fun, regardless on stage. Whether it's a small crowd or large, I do this because I love it, not because I, have to have this massive thing. I just do what I do. I don't know. So I don't know.
You're not someone. Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was gonna say the one with the chorus in it. I don't know.
Yeah. That people are singing along to. Yeah. So you don't strike me as someone who I've met. Look, I'm not going to speak for you, but I've met some musicians that are terrible people. And there are elements, and I'm sure you've met people, without naming any names, you've met people probably, or I have, that are fixated on that instant gratification of the crowd. And it seems like that's not something that really weighs on you. It seems like you're someone who truly does this for the love of the music, and maybe you even shy away from the attention.
I mean, I started doing a lot of this in hardcore.
Yeah.
It's like you're playing in basements, VFWs, and you're playing with, you're playing to people who, feel like outsiders and who can be very jaded, and have heard, all the good bands, and so it's just like, you just got to go out and do your thing and not think about what's going on.
Yeah.
Because, you still got a job to do.
Yes. It's interesting to me that you've talked about kind of dealing with anxiety, but you also very much appear to not care what people think of you, which is very rare for people who deal with anxiety. That's interesting to me.
It's taken time, and I'm I've been doing it for a long time. I just, um, I've given up a lot and I've lost a lot for this.
Yeah.
And, and you know, I've made a bunch of mistakes and I've been able to do some really cool things. I'm just a dude.
Yeah.
I'm just me. And I can't pretend to not be me.
Yeah.
So this is just me.
So, one of the things that people sort of maybe inferred, and I saw this in the comments a lot on social media. Unfortunately, I still have to go on there when I'm working. But
Uh-huh.
one of yeah, I know, sucks to be me. What a tough life I have, right? So one of the things that I saw was, oh man, maybe Howard will do some special appearances with Killswitch Engage. Now, End of Heartache is going to turn 15 next year. I've done the math if my math is correct. Is there any chance that maybe we might be able to see Howard just pop out and maybe do a guest appearance with the band? Is there any possibility of that?
That is not even in my mind.
Not even in the realm.
I I haven't thought about that.
Yeah.
I'm like that's just I don't think about that stuff.
Yeah.
It's like when like I like this whole hanging out with them.
Yeah.
I mean I know now this is a thing
That
because
was a
I've
big
done
deal, man. That was a
I've
big deal.
I've done a number of interviews. I
Yeah.
now know it's a thing.
Yeah. So you've
But
been doing interviews today, and I'm guessing people have just been loading you up about that.
yeah, I've heard a few times today.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, for me, I mean, I just wanted to hang out. It's like we finally had an opportunity to hang, so
Yeah.
that's what it was. I
Yeah.
didn't think past that. Like I didn't take any pictures; they did.
Yeah. And that's the important thing is it's true. You weren't on social media like, hey, KSE, what's up, guys? They were all like showing or Jesse was showing so much love to you. I don't even think Adam's on social media, but like,
Yeah, well, Jesse was just we all just got to hang and
yeah.
laugh and talk and laugh more
Yeah.
and it was just a good time getting to just share stories and
Yeah.
catch up and just be us
Is it
and they plus it was good for them to see me because they saw me at really really low moments and couldn't
yeah.
do anything for me because I
Wow.
didn't know what was wrong with me. And so I figured whatever was wrong with me, I could fix. And
Yeah.
so I just push everybody away. But and so over time, things got to where it is now, and it was like I want to see everybody, and
Yes.
uh, so they were like, "Cool, let's hang out."
So it's even more, positive than it sounds like, and I don't know you personally, but it sounds like you're in a really good place right now. And as a fan of your music, if that is true, I'm so happy for you, man. I really am, because I know that battle, and I am very, very happy to hear that you're reconnecting with those guys.
Yeah, I mean, Adam and I, we've kept in touch. I mean, we've all kept in touch, but this was like it was just cool to actually like all of us hang in one
Yeah.
place because that had not happened.
Yeah.
And yeah, it just hadn't. So there you go.
Does does it resonate with you? Um, a personal story on my end, talking about some of your earlier music, and at this point, it's fair to call the End of Heartache a classic. In my opinion, based on the impact that it's had, the success that it's had, does it? When I was in 2004, when that album came out, I believe, and shout out to my brother. My brother introduced me to Killswitch in general. And I look back on I'm certain thousands of times I've listened to one or more songs on that album. And it has helped me get through difficult times. It has helped me have fun. It's been a big part of my life in one way or another through hundreds or thousands of hours. And I'm just one person. Do you ever think about, in a non-arrogant way, I'm not asking you to be, cocky about it, but do you ever think about the scale of the impact that you and other musicians, whether it be in Killswitch or Light the Torch, because I can't stop listening to the songs that you've released and the album's not even out yet. Do you think about that?
Well, maybe now. No,
Wow.
I don't. I'm just me. I don't know. I think that's just the way I am, or
Yeah,
the way I'm built, or whatever. And plus, I get pretty. It's like if I'm into something, I get really obsessed with stuff. And
that's
so,
me too.
like, yeah. And so, like, right now, like I said, like fishing and hiking and and honestly, like working and just all the writing and everything. That's where my head is. So
Yeah.
I'm literally just thinking, okay, I'm going to try and eat something, maybe listen to something, maybe listen to a podcast, sleep a couple hours, get up, maybe get up and have a coffee, watch Rick and Morty, and go for a hike. That
Oh
so
my
I
God.
I just think
Howard
that
Jones is a
that's
fan of Rick and Morty. There's the headline. There is the headline. Oh my God. I'm so happy that you're
but
into Rick and Morty.
oh, it's hilarious.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then I mean, but that's pretty much like that's like as far ahead as I think. It's like, okay, I got this. Boom. Okay, let's go. Because I think a lot of my anxiety and depression came from just being overwhelmed by
Yeah.
what's to come. But if I just take on what I want to take on and just break it into smaller blocks, then I'm okay. You know,
Yeah.
so that's all I do. I don't look at that, like
Yeah.
that big picture. I'm not. I I don't know. Uh,
So
yeah, I don't think
you
like that.
you talk about podcasts. I just want to mention that we are growing very fast here, and this will be out on Apple Podcasts. Are there any podcasts that you are, other than Josta? Obviously, we all love his show. Are there any other podcasts that you're really into?
Well, it was Darkest Night podcast. I
Hmm.
did a guest spot on and had
Ah,
sang the it's like a theme song for them. Uh,
that's awesome.
yeah, just kind of a storyline thing. I know Maynard had done an episode right before I did,
Mm.
so it was really cool. Um, but yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of like Rogan, Fighter and the Kid.
Oh
Um,
man.
I'll listen to let's see, if I feel like listening to somebody just make me laugh till my stomach hurts, I'll listen to Joey Diaz.
Yeah.
I'll listen to Hardcore History. Uh, my taste just bounce. It just
Yeah.
depends on. It depends on like how long I have. It's like, okay, I'm gonna be out for 3 hours. All right, cool. That's an episode of Rogan.
So
So
true.
it just depends on what
So
my what my interest is that day.
so Joe Rogan is a massive influence of me. I'm working on right now at the moment, trying to get a bigger studio where I can actually bring people in when they come to town. Um, when you're on tour, I would love to do that. I will handle transportation and everything. But so Joe Rogan is interesting because he's existing in a culture right now where he is very much, he doesn't align to any sort of alliance that society might think that he belongs to. And he has people on that are from all different walks of life or from all different political viewpoints, religious viewpoints,
Yeah.
and things of the like. I'm curious if you're kind of conscious of how, as a society, we have gotten to the point where maybe it's a lot easier to upset people with things that you might say.
Yeah, it seems that way.
Yeah.
um, Kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, and no one wants to offend anyone.
Yeah.
It just does seem like everyone's on edge,
Yeah.
and it's kind of hard to pinpoint exactly why when there's so many different crazy things happening.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah.
I,
The one thing I do like about that he says all the time is just like, you know, learn to be good to each other. You know,
yes.
and that's and I know, especially if you're someone who's dealing with weird emotions,
Hmm.
sometimes that's a hard thing to do
Yeah.
because you don't feel good about yourself. How are you going to feel good about someone else? So
That's
it's a struggle, but it's something that I try to keep in mind.
yeah. I I can tell you that people for people hearing this, this is going to be really beneficial for a lot of people who are dealing with maybe feelings of their own of anxiety or depression. And again, I can't help but encourage those people that are watching right now. If you're unaware of it and maybe you're just discovering that you're having anxiety or depression, be open about it. Talk to people about it. There are people out there that love you, that want you to that want you to seek help. And I think, you know, Howard, far too often these days we're seeing a lot of people that are kind of maybe pushed or alienated by society, and it kind of leads to I'm not here to be political or anything, but it does seem to, in some form or another, lead to some of the folks that we see that or monsters that we've seen that have gotten involved in these mass shootings that we've seen. I don't know. What is your take on that?
And I don't know. I'm beyond the sadness and senselessness of it. I mean, I think that's beyond my scope.
Yeah,
I can't I can't begin to comment on that, and
yeah,
I just because I that's not how my brain works.
yeah,
So I can't even guess.
yeah.
It's it's just scary
Hmm.
that so many people are gone that fast, and so it's like the scope of the whole country changed that fast,
Yeah,
and it's it was a kid. He
yeah,
was still a kid, and I mean he's not done growing yet.
yep.
It's that's
The
the
brain's not done
crazy.
forming.
Yeah, that's the craziness of this. I mean, he's gonna get he's gonna get sentenced before he's a complete adult, you know,
Yeah.
and it's just
Well, I do
no.
think he was 19, if my memory corrects me. So,
He's yeah, and even at
but he's
19,
still, yeah,
you're still not done.
yeah,
Especially men, you're not done.
yeah.
Yeah, you're still a moron.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, obviously he is a despicable monster. And look, yeah, like you said, it's not for us to. I don't think that everything requires commenting on. All I
No.
can say is that it was a horrific tragedy, and it's completely senseless. I don't know,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, I mean, I can't say anything that's going to change anything.
yeah,
It just, I'm just bringing up something more that's, you know, that a lot of people have been hurt by, and
yeah,
so I,
that's so
it's
true. Um, so talking about this Light the Torch album before we split here, um, what listening to Die Alone, listening to this song, was there anything particular that maybe motivated you to write this song? Are you someone who writes about what's going on personally, or do you write about kind of the observations that you see in the world around you?
yes.
Yes. Yes to both.
Uh, yeah, I think it's pretty safe to say I'm somewhat of a emotional writer, I guess,
Yeah.
or um, I mean, there's some observation with, but for the most part, I just write what I'm feeling, you know,
Yeah.
and I don't have a topic when I start. I
Yeah.
just kind of go.
Yeah. You write to the track, or do you write before the song is finished?
Sometimes there's stuff before,
Yeah.
and sometimes it's to finish stuff, and then sometimes I'm kind of a little more hands on. Like with this album, this was like Fran and I really dug deep,
Yeah.
so I was a lot more hands on with arranging and just
That's so cool.
organizing the whole album. So it was, yeah, this was a big time group effort.
Now, um, this album, you guys weren't really telling people that you were kind of working on this. I know there was some space in between with the Devil You Know stuff you were dealing with.
Yep.
You worked with Josh from
Woven War.
Woven War. My God, I love that band.
Absolutely.
Now I know he's been involved in producing their stuff. How much was he involved in kind of working with you guys on putting some of this stuff together? Was he is he a hands-on producer? I'm very interested in that kind of how he is as a producer, being such a noted musician himself.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he was hands on when he needed to be, but
Yeah,
we kind of had we had a good idea of what we wanted to do, and he was just great and easy to
yeah,
work with, and Joseph, his business partner, is just awesome too. He did a lot of the vocals with me,
yeah,
and it was just, yeah, it was great, man. But we really had a good idea of where we wanted to go with all this,
yeah,
and I and that's why, like, all the just for all the songs, like the coming up with all the melodies and harmonies and everything, I got to cut loose with it
yeah.
because this was us. We got to do this on our own, so
So
and I just kind of have fun with it.
I'm not a. In fact, I despise the people that are sort of genre snobs, right? And um, but from what I've heard so far, this is I mean I would personally classify it as a hard rock album. This is something that if the radio kind of still mattered, you would hear this a lot on the radio. And were there any discussions like, yo, can we write bangers on this? Like, that's, I know that when I've written with certain people that I've talked about, like, let's make this song catchy as hell. Like, is there, I mean, these songs are infectious that you guys have written.
Well, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
Um, we, I don't know. We wanted to write catchy stuff.
Yeah.
We that's kind of like as far as we were thinking. It's like, let's really focus on writing a catchy album.
Yeah.
Didn't know what direction it was going to go. We didn't have a name. We didn't have a contract. We were just like, let's write.
Wow.
So it's just, yeah. And so I'm not that concerned about genre stuff.
Yeah. Likewise.
I just do what I do, and then I'll move on and do something else, and
Yeah.
then I'll just keep doing what I do. If I were to listen to all the voices, I would be doing every one of those bands that I've ever done and none of them.
Yeah.
So I just got to do what I do.
That's true. and you have done it very well. I am so excited to hear this full album. And look, listen to Die Alone. Check out Revival. Make sure you pre-order it. It's coming out on March 30th. Howard, what would you say to someone who hasn't listened to Light the Torch yet? How would you describe it for them?
Well, yeah, it's just kind of a fun listen.
Yeah.
That's really what we went for, was just catchy, and just if you can sing along to it, you can hum, you can headbang, you can dance, mosh, whatever. Just there's a lot of our heart and emotion in this album.
Yeah.
And at the same time, we bonded. Like, we bonded through this. We rewrote and recorded everything together. I've never done that before in the studio where I had everybody in there with me.
Wow.
This was this was a joint effort. We were like, okay, start to finish, we're doing this together, and we did it.
It
So
almost
this
sounds
is
like
literally, it's us.
it
This
almost
is
sounds
us.
like for some people that's like the most, like for Metallica, it seems like they almost fight over that. If you watch their documentary, it seems like that can be difficult for some bands, but you guys clearly really pulled it off. I want to end this on one final question that I like to ask people. First of all, thank you for being here today.
No problem.
What would you tell your younger self now going into the music business? What would you tell yourself back then in your current form? I think I fucked that question up. I think that was confusing.
No, what would I say to my younger self who,
Yes.
is about to like enter the music business, that sort of thing, or
Yeah. Let's go
run?
back 25 years. You said run. Is that accurate? Do you regret the career path?
No, I don't regret it. I just know it's not easy.
Yes.
It never, it never is.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what life is. But honestly, it's take the shot.
Yeah.
What do you have to lose?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just if you love it like I loved music. I mean, I was talking today about how I used to carry cassette tapes with me if I knew I was going to be in someone's car, and I would have access to their tape deck for
Wow.
5 minutes. I would carry CDs in my pockets like that. And I know my friends in Ohio, it's like if Andy, Jeremy, Keith, if you guys are listening to this, you know what I'm talking about. Just whenever I got in their cars, I had music with me. It's just I always carried it. I was that guy. So if you love it, it's gonna suck. You're not gonna like step out on the stage the first time and there's gonna be 10,000 people there.
Yeah.
You're gonna be terrible sometimes. It's gonna happen. But if you love it, do it. Just do it.
That's such a good note to end this interview on. The new single Die Alone from Light the Torch is out now. Be sure to pick up Revival, pre-order it before it comes out on March 30th. Howard, thank you so much. I am such a big fan of your work. I'm loving the new stuff. And hopefully we'll talk soon, and maybe I'll get this studio up and we can do our own JRE style interview.
Sounds good, man.
Yeah.
Let's
Appreciate it, man. Thank you so much.